seconds to be precise, before the president pivoted back to U.S. relations with Cuba, which drew criticism from Republicans. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson is chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator, thanks for being here.
Hello, Bret.
Let me ask you first your reaction to this attack and what we know about the effort to track down those responsible.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims. You know, we hope for a speedy recovery of the ones that are just injured. It's happening all too often. It's just depressing how regular these attacks are occurring, one right after another, all over the world. We're all vulnerable, and we need to recognize that fact. And you know, it's great that we're going to help the folks in Brussels bring these people to justice. What we need to do is start preventing these attacks. We have to defeat Islamic terror. We have to get serious about this.
What is the threat here to the U.S.? Is it credible? Is there anything specific? What is the ISIS threat here to the homeland?
We do not know. We're told we do not have any credible, specific threats, but it's a real threat. And we saw it at Fort Hood, Texas. We saw it in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We saw it in San Bernardino, California. There was a plot foiled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin against the Masonic Temple at the end of January. So these are real and growing threats, and as long as ISIS remains undefeated, they're going to be perceived as winning. They'll continue to inspire this. They put their roots further down in that caliphate. They're spreading out. They're metastasizing. They're gaining a foothold in Libya, in Afghanistan. Some of these groups are affiliating with them. So we may be nibbling around the edges. We may be defeating them in places in Iraq. But I would argue they are not losing strength. They are growing in stature, and that's why they continue to carry out these terrorist attacks.
Mr. Chairman, earlier on Special Report, I talked to your colleague, the House Chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Mike McCall. Here's what he said about the threat.
We know the mastermind of the Paris attacks, Aboud, claimed that he brought in 90 potential terrorists into Europe as ticking time bombs, greatly concerning to the safety of Europe. I would say that because of the foreign fighter threat to Europe and the close proximity, they're much greater risk than the United States. Having said that, we're also very concerned, given the latest ISIS video talking about a Paris-style attack in the United States, that we are on a high state of alert.
So tonight, Senator, what is the biggest threat?
Well, it continues to be people in America that are self-radicalized. I would also say our completely unsecure southern border is also a threat. When I was down in Honduras and Guatemala, I was touring with the head of Southern Command, General Kelly. He was talking about a different classification of illegal alien, SIAs, special interest aliens. Now, these are individuals from Somalia, from Syria, from Yemen, from Pakistan that get detained down in Central America, but get released and they can come right through our very porous southern border. So, again, the threat is the fact that Islamic terrorists are absolutely dedicated to attacking civilization. I know President Obama says that he wanted to end all these wars, but the only way you end war is one side has to be defeated or both sides have to agree to end the war, and Islamic terrorists are not agreeing to end the war, which means we have to defeat them. Senator,
it seems like Belgium is not prepared for this fight. To quote a counterterrorism official, BuzzFeed had a quote from one official saying this: "We just don't have the people to watch anything else, and frankly, we don't have the infrastructure to properly investigate or monitor hundreds of individuals suspected of terror links, as well as pursue the hundreds of open files of investigations we have. It's literally an impossible situation, and honestly, it's very grave." That's a Belgian counterterrorism.
Well, listen, the threat in Europe is higher because they are so much closer to the Middle East. It's a lot easier for terrorists to travel, and of course they have, much larger Muslim populations that haven't assimilated. They've become self-radicalized. So I think the threat in Europe is higher than it is in the United States, but doesn't mean that we're without threat. Now, I'll give Secretary Department of Homeland Security Jay Johnson a fair amount of credit trying to engage the communities. I think we've done a better job here. We have fewer numbers of people that have tried to go to Syria, that have gotten over to Syria. But again, this is a worldwide threat, and we have got to take it seriously.
Senator Johnson, thank you for the time tonight.